right, welcome everyone. So glad you could join us today. As always, huge thanks for sending in what you've been reading and thinking about. We've got all that material right here. And for this deep dive, we're zeroing in on chapter 17 specifically.
Yeah, chapter 17. Not just any chapter, though, right?
Right, exactly. This one is special.
It's the big summary chapter, the grand finale of the science of being well.
That's it, a summary of the whole thing. So essentially, this chapter is like the author giving us the Cliff's Notes version, the concentrated essence of all the key principles from the entire book.
Yeah, like a cheat sheet almost, you know, a shortcut for the listener who really wants to grasp the core ideas without necessarily having to go through every single detail of the whole book.
Exactly. Makes things a bit easier, right? So today, what we're aiming to do is really unpack those core principles, make them super clear and understandable for everyone. And of course, as always, we want to highlight those ideas that are super interesting, and even more so, the ones that you can actually use, you know, apply to your own life and all that.
Make it practical.
Make it practical, exactly. So without further ado, let's dive right in. Chapter 17 kicks off with a pretty straightforward definition. Health equals, quote, perfectly natural functioning, normal living.
Straight to the point.
Straight to the point. But, it seems simple enough on the surface, but I feel like there's got to be a deeper meaning there. What's the real significance of that statement, you think?
Yeah, I mean, it seems simple, right? Perfectly natural functioning. But it's laying down a really important foundation. The idea here isn't that health is like this, superhuman state that you have to be constantly struggling to achieve. It's more like it's the default setting, your body working the way it's designed to. And that inherent functioning, as the book goes on to explain, all stems from what it calls the, quote, principle of life.
Principle of life. Okay, that sounds pretty fundamental. Break that down for us a bit. What's that all about?
So the book describes it as the, quote, living substance from which all things are made. And the key here is that this substance, this principle of life, it permeates the entire universe. Like it's everywhere. Think of it kind of like water. Water can exist in an invisible form, right? Like humidity in the air. You can't see it, but it's there.
Right.
And then it can also solidify into a distinct form like ice. But the ice is still water. It's the same fundamental substance, just in a different form. And that's the point here. All forms of life, everything, it all comes from this single universal source.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture. So this living substance, it's not just some passive material. It's active, it's creative, right?
Exactly. And here's where things get really interesting. This living substance, it's described as a thinking substance. It literally creates through thought, taking on the form of its thoughts and putting things into motion based on those thoughts. And what's super fascinating is this idea that it has this inherent continuous drive towards fuller expression. And fuller expression, naturally, means perfect health, optimal functioning. It's like there's this fundamental force in the universe constantly pushing towards well-being.
So this force that promotes health, it's always at play. It's always there. The question is, where do we fit into all of this? How do we as individuals relate to this universal force?
Yeah, that's the next piece of the puzzle, right? We as individuals are also expressions of this living substance. We're part of it. And within each of us, there's a specific manifestation of that universal power, which the book calls the principle of health. Now, humans, we have this unique capacity. Through our thoughts, we can either align ourselves with this universal force, allowing that principle of health within us to flourish, or we can, in effect, separate ourselves from it.
Separate ourselves through thought. How does that work, exactly? According to the book, I mean.
It all comes down to the power of our minds.
Yeah.
The book really emphasizes the fact that our mental activity has a very real, tangible effect on our physical processes. It's not just airy-fairy stuff, it's actual biology. We're described as, quote, thinking substance inhabiting a physical body.
Right, yeah.
So thought, essentially, is directing the show. And when that internal principle of health is fully active, all those automatic bodily functions, digestion, circulation, the immune system, all the things that happen without us consciously thinking about it, they all work flawlessly.
So like the body's just humming along, doing its thing perfectly.
Exactly.
Okay, so then what's the first practical step? If we want to tap into this inherent health, where do we begin?
Well, this is where the book gives us something concrete to work with. It emphasizes the importance of this first crucial step, which is consciously forming a, quote, conception of oneself as perfectly healthy. And what's even more important is to actually act in accordance with that conception as if it were already your reality.
Like fake it till you make it, kind of?
In a way, yeah.
Yeah.
It's about aligning your thoughts with that vision of complete well-being and making a conscious effort to detach from thoughts of illness, weakness, any kind of imperfection. It's like rewiring your internal narrative. Instead of focusing on what's wrong, you're focusing on what's right, what could be right, what is inherently right, according to the book, in terms of your natural state.
So it's more than just hoping to be healthy, it's actively picturing it and behaving as if it's already true. Now, what about our beliefs? What role does our belief system play in all of this?
Oh, belief is huge. It's absolutely crucial. The book introduces this idea of positive faith as the actual mechanism that activates the principle of health and gets those natural healing processes going in the body. And it goes on to say that through this unwavering faith, combined with a deep, reverent gratitude for the health we are receiving, we can actually draw in even more power from that universal principle of life.
So gratitude as a way to amplify that internal power.
Exactly.
That's a really cool concept.
It is. And what's really interesting is the emphasis on conscious acceptance. We have to actively acknowledge and accept this continuous flow of health coming from that living substance. And cultivating gratitude is the key to nurturing that faith. It's like recognizing and appreciating the fact that this support system is always there for us.
Okay, so we're picturing ourselves as healthy, we're cultivating the strong belief in our inherent well-being, and we're practicing gratitude for it. But what about the more tangible aspects of our lives, our daily habits, our routines, all of that?
Oh, that's all part of it, for sure. The book makes it very clear that there's this inseparable connection between our mental state and our physical well-being. It says that if we want to maintain thoughts of perfect health, we also need to be performing, quote, the voluntary functions of life in a way that aligns with perfect health. Things like eating, drinking, breathing, sleeping, all of that.
Right, it has to be a holistic approach. The internal and the external have to match.
Exactly, it's all connected. Right. And the deep dive into chapter 17 wraps up by really hammering home this central message. Perfect health is the direct result of, quote, thinking and acting in a certain way.
Thinking and acting.
Yeah, and by consciously embracing and applying these principles, the book argues that anyone can activate their innate principle of health, overcome any disease, and achieve that state of perfect well-being. And it emphasizes that this principle, this power, is universal, and it has the inherent capacity to heal anything when we align ourselves with this science of being well. Pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah, that's a lot to take in. So now that we've really explored this summary chapter, this essence of the whole book, how would you summarize the core philosophy, the main takeaway that runs through the entire science of being well?
If we connect all the dots, it's really this powerful understanding of the deep interconnectedness between our minds and our bodies. This idea that our thoughts aren't just some, fleeting things happening in our heads. They're actually potent forces that directly shape our physical reality. And the book really champions the power of focused, positive thought, unwavering faith in our body's innate ability to heal, and genuine gratitude as the essential ingredients for achieving and maintaining well-being. It's this idea that health isn't something outside of us that we have to chase after through remedies and treatments and all that. It's an inherent natural state that we can realize by simply aligning our mental and physical lives with these principles. It's about recognizing and stepping into our own power to create well-being.
Wow, that's a really beautiful way to put it. It definitely gives a fresh perspective on what it means to be well. Well, everyone, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into Chapter 17 of The Science of Being Well.
We really hope this exploration of the summary chapter has given you a clear understanding of the book's main ideas and how they might apply to your life.
And with that, we wrap up our deep dive into this particular book. Thank you all so much for being here and lending us your ears. We'll be back soon with a brand new deep dive into a different book, and we can't wait to explore more fascinating ideas together.
In the meantime, here's something to think about. How might consciously choosing to focus on thoughts of well-being, even amidst the everyday ups and downs, start to shift your overall experience of health? Just something to ponder.
Food for thought, everyone. Until next time, take care.